women learn mostly from the men that they date. In regards to what you
That's
said,
I agree.
learned everything.
Unfortunately.
My father taught so when it comes in regards to love and how a man is supposed to treat a woman, I didn't learn anything from him. You know, I didn't.
What about how he treated your mother? Like you didn't look at that and like
I didn't pay attention to that when I was growing. I'm not gonna lie, that was none of my business. Yeah. And I had
no translation. She didn't respect him, and that's common for a 14-year-old girl to have a new stepfather. She just doesn't respect him. She didn't respect him, and she could sit there and tell that lie about, well, yes, I did. Well, really? Then how are you not paying attention to how he interacted with your mom? Welcome back to Money, Marriage, and Media. We're back with the Daily Wrap-Up crew. I don't need a man because I seen my mom do it without one. Okay, all right. Sounds like something that a couple women today might say. So let's see what we got.
So I just wanted to talk about like absentee fatherism or just upbringing as a whole and how that shifts your perspective on dating in the opposite sex. I just wanted to kind of say that, let's say you didn't have a father in the household and you saw your mother do everything. The masculine energy that you might see some women have, maybe it's due to that, right? Like, I just wanted to bring a point as to say that if you saw your mother do everything that a man should, you might have that maybe
expectation of the woman.
Right. Well, as a man, you'll have that expectation of the woman. You'll think that you saw your mom do it all, so you might want her to do it all. And it's like, but that might not be realistic, right? Yeah. Because if you're working hard, then...
Yeah, what this turns into is a chicken and egg discussion. And this is going down the rabbit hole of the gender war. The only way to defeat this argument is with high-level conversation. We got to look past what's on the surface and peel back some layers and get to the actual root of the problem. We're going to do that for sure on this side of the camera, but I'd rather see if they come to the same, if they get there themselves, because then it looks more organic. And plus, it's not just my opinion that is coming to that conclusion. So let's go.
You might be tired to be doing all the house things of the house.
But again, if you have the lack of father, real quick,
yes.
For women, you might feel like, well, I don't need a man because I see my mom do it without a man. You get what I'm saying? So now your dynamic towards men is just completely different.
Correct.
Generational curse.
The point because it's okay. Your mother shouldn't have had to do it that way. She did it like that because she had to, and I'm pretty sure if she had a choice, she wouldn't have chosen to be a single mother. Nobody wants that. Nobody goes into it like, hell, I want to do all this shit by myself.
Most women who are single moms most women are usually given a choice of whether or not they want to go through with the pregnancy or not. And I know most women don't like to admit that, or they don't like to say that they chose single motherhood, but chances are the pregnant woman knew that man did not want a child, and she went ahead and had the baby anyway. So that
if I want to do this,
I've been hearing women saying I'd rather have be a single. Yeah.
That's with
no,
the current
no,
state of what the hell
no. I got a video from the 80s. From the 80s. You seen that video? Yeah, it's a video. It's that like a room. It's a room full of women. Women, and they all say they rather raise their child by themselves without a man.
Oh yeah, I seen that old clip.
It's very old.
What they're talking about is a documentary that was done in the early 80s. And these men, and they were predominantly white, they went in to do a documentary about why so many women in low-income areas are having so many kids and are so dependent on the government, and why they can't, pick themselves up. And it was shocking results. What they found out is that these women would rather take the benefits from the government, which made them feel like, well, I don't need a man because I can get money on my own. And it's the same argument. They seen their mom do it. this gave, of course, if the only value you see in a man is being a wallet, and that's what was really going on there. That's the real argument there, is that, well, if all he does is going to be a wallet, then I don't need him. I can make my own decisions. And a lot of times that's what happens. You have women who feel like they were raised to be soldiers in the gender war. They don't trust the men. Well, I can have a baby. My baby will love me, and I'm going to love him, or I'm going to love it, whether it's a boy or a girl, and that's all we need. We don't need a man around, because he's just going to take all my power away. But if I have a child, then this child has to do what I say, so now I have the power. And I need money to live. Well, I don't need a man for that either, because I get this government check that's coming in, through the mail, and that's going to help me get by. And my mom can help me babysit and all this other stuff. And it's like, this is what happens when you reduce the value of men to just being a wallet or a paycheck.
Right in the 80s.
They said because you gotta basically be a mother to that man too, because chances are his mother didn't raise him right, and she raised him to be lenient. Because I feel like women are raised to be super strong, and men are raised to be like pacified, especially when there's a single mother.
Agree with that.
When there's a single mother, I feel like I've dated like a couple mama's boys, and when I tell you,
I feel like
Again, we're talking about chicken and egg, because you dated those guys, but you picked them though. Those are the guys that were attracted to you. Why were they attracted to you? Because you have decades of being in an environment where you think it's more beneficial for you to be masculine. But we're gonna blame those couple of guys when you've been raised that way for decades. Chicken and egg. But, well, let's keep going.
Dynamic is more so like they treat their sons like it's their husband and expect their sons to step up in those ways. But I don't feel like that goes along with. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you lost us. We were with you until you said that last part, because you're saying something different. He's saying that we're expecting our sons to step up. Yeah. I think you're saying that the mothers pacify.
That's why the sons, I feel like
baby them.
That's
mothers than what you were saying.
In regard to single mothers, we're talking about single mother households, right?
But that's what.
Yeah. So what he's trying to allude to, he's not really doing a good job of it, but he's trying to allude to the sons being treated as the son husband, as the single mom is treating her son. She's giving him the benefits of him being a husband without him providing, without him doing without him having the responsibilities that come along with it. So yeah, he's a husband in the things that he does around the house. He's also reaping, and he gets husband treatment, but he has almost none of the responsibility that comes with it. Whereas the daughters are given a lot of times a lot of responsibilities that go above her being a daughter. So yeah.
But I'm saying he's saying something completely different.
Yeah, I don't feel like they're passive. Well, maybe I don't know what you're trying to say, but what do you consider pacifying them? Because if you're saying like make sure that the son is known to be treated as a man and whatever the case may be, I don't know if that's what you're.
Young boys have to become men of the house.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Always. So I don't see how that's a pacifier.
Yeah, but
I lost my childhood to now become the man of my house. I'm no longer a child. I'm responsible for my younger siblings. I'm responsible for adding money and food and cooking and cleaning. That's what I'm doing as a young kid. I lost my childhood because you didn't want to be with a man or build or find another relationship. Now I have to step up to be that man.
That's a different way to look at it. I definitely did not look at it like that.
Right. I mean, it depends. It also depends on how the mother is raising the kid, right? Maybe that might have been true for you, but for someone else, maybe they were pacifying them. Maybe maybe they were babying them and being over caring, if that's coddling.
But I feel like it's a mother's duty to definitely embrace their child, whether it's a female or male. But you got to know where the line of babying and
that's what I mean.
Yeah, but that dynamic
your
really
son
only
needs
works.
to have hugs from you too. It's not just the daughters that need hugs from their moms.
But that coddling only works in a two household situation because the mother has the luxury to coddle the kids while the father can instill the discipline and you know what I mean, that tough love in a sense, like you know what I mean. So that very much works in a 2-family household. But when we just one family, one mother or one parent, then it's not going to balance out. Like, you get what I'm saying? Because now I can totally understand where she might be coming from when she says that. You know what I mean? I
feel like it also depends on how many siblings you have. So single mothers with one kid and they have a son, that is a difference in the way a single mother of 4 kids is raised.
I can see that.
Because the oldest have to take the lead and be the man, like he said. But in another situation where it's just her and her son, the son is going to come out a little bit spoiled, and he's going to expect his woman to be like his mother.
But let me ask you another question. What is necessarily wrong with that? Because the only reason I ask, because women, will say they want a man that resembles their father, right?
I don't want nobody to resemble my father.
Not resemble in looks. As far as my father took care of things, so
right? So, but when men say, you know what, I want a woman that
lost me.
You know what I mean? When the man says, I want a woman that vice versa can resemble the traits that my mother had, why is that looked down upon when we don't look down upon women for having that standard of a man with their father? Like, you know what I mean?
It really depends on like how you was brought up. I don't want to be like my father. Like I don't want to be like any of my parents.
But your significant other.
I understand. I don't want him to be like his father. I want you to.
Now here's a question. Are they not, because that's a valid statement, but are they going to hold their mothers accountable and saying, why did you pick a guy like that to be my father? Something to think about, though, right? I mean, because that's essentially what they're saying. My question is, are they actually going to say it? Or are they just talking?
To be you.
Like you.
And honestly, that's that whole saying.
We all have a model that we polish ourselves.
So, question:
I would want.
Where do you model a man? Like, what your man? What do you want him to be?
I want him to exemplify himself. Like
that doesn't somebody like
his influence.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, what do you pick from?
Acting sassy, you gonna say that nigga acting sassy?
Where do you where do you learn what a man is supposed to be? Other than from your own father.
I think other from my father, I'm just really learning because what if we have piece of shit fathers? Like we really can't really talk about it.
And that was the whole point of wanting me to bring this topic up. Go ahead. No, I feel like women learn mostly from the men that they date. In regards to what you said, I learned everything. Unfortunately, my father taught me. So basically, I have a stepfather or whatever. He's been in my life since I was 14 years old. So I grew up in the house with my father, and he bought me my first sewing machine. Like, he was supportive and everything like that. He taught me how to drive, everything. But that was it. Like, once I moved out, that was it. So when it comes in regards to love and how a man is supposed to treat a woman, I didn't learn anything from him. Like, I learned how to take care of yourself. So
I'm not letting her off that easy. What did you first off, you met him at 14. He taught you a lot at 14. And then she's making a narrative that, at 14, she moved out at 15? So I'm not buying it. Again, did you respect him enough to have him vet the guys? Excuse me. Did she trust him enough to have him vet the guys that she was interested in? That's the real question. Again, gentlemen, when women come up with all these horror stories and about dating and all this drama, we're not going to question a woman or her part in it. We just want to know who vetted that man for you. Because what we really want to know is that, okay, who is the male authority figure in your life? Is there one? If you don't have one, then what history do you have of, number one, who's the man that you trust in your family to help out with, to guide you down the path of finding a husband? If there isn't one, then you don't trust another man to do that for you, then how are you going to follow my leadership? See, that's what we got to start asking. Who vetted that man for you? So the question, did she trust her stepfather enough to let him vet the men that she was interested in? If she's talking about she had to learn all this stuff from previous relationships, the obvious, it sounded like no. And we can only blame her for that because that was her choice. She chose to learn like that instead of taking the advice, instead of trying to go to her stepdad and say, what can you teach me about boys? Or I want to get married one day, can you help me find a husband? A lot of women, for whatever reason, they're scared to have that conversation. I don't know why, because most women, like, one of the biggest decisions they will ever make is, whether or not to say I do to a guy. So it's crazy to me.
So you're self-sufficient from him,
What about how he treated your mother? Like, you didn't look at that and like.
I didn't pay attention to that when I was growing. I'm not gonna lie, that was none of my business. Yeah. And
no translation. She didn't respect him, and that's common for a 14-year-old girl to have a new stepfather. She just doesn't respect him. She didn't respect him, and she could sit there and tell that lie about, well, yes, I did. Well, really? Then how are you not paying attention to how he interacted with your mom? See, the reality is she was paying attention. She just didn't like that there was a man in the house that was going to have authority over her.
I didn't see him treat my mother no type of way. My mother is really the mean one, honestly. My dad is super nice. He never cheated. He works super hard. He goes on the road. He don't have no side families, no other women, nothing. Like, he's really super old school, but I'm not expecting my man to be like that because it's super unrealistic.
It's not, though.
That's why I said I don't want nobody
standard
like
that you would live by.
No, but I love my dad, and I feel like I'm on my dad's side I'm like a daddy's girl. Like, I take his side over my mom. So I wouldn't want to treat my father like my mom treats my father.
And then why isn't he helping vet with the vetting process?
And my mom is super ungrateful for
but
him.
Know so that what the type of good
to
man
be a pushover and let me walk all over him like my dad. I need a guy that's more stern than my dad. So I look at my dad's characteristics and I take the things that I don't like, and I take the things that, like, he is a good, faithful man and everything like that, but he needs a little bit more of a backbone. I don't want a man that doesn't have a backbone. You understand?
I understand.
So that I'm like super opposite when it comes to that.
It really is who your parents are.
Like, she turned into her mom.
When you learn the downfalls of your parents, because they're not perfect, we're not perfect, right? Once you start to learn that your parents probably aren't the
she's looking for this ultra masculine dude but she's the mean one. First off, how does she know who's leading that relationship? Yeah, your mom's mean to you because you're her daughter. So how does she know who's leading that relationship? How does she know that he's not that guy just because he wasn't that to her, because he is in a stepfather role? How does she know that he wasn't like that to her mom? Now, one thing I will say about her, she actually called him her father. And that does show a little bit of respect there. She probably calls him dad. But that's more about honoring the fact that this man stepped up to take the place of your father and help raise you. It's not really saying that you trust him. And clearly, I don't think she does, because, again, why doesn't he help you vet men now? But you know what? It might be a moot point because she might not be trying to get married. So,
the model of what you want to be or what your significant other wants to be, you have to then go in the field. You got to go in the field and try to figure out who's for you and who's not. So I understand the girls that say, I want a man that's like my dad.
Yeah,
like,
I was gonna say that.
Spoil me, but it depends on if you had a father.
That's why
if you had a father.
It's
so
true.
For me, similar to you, my stepfather raised me since I came out. Like, whatever that situation was, he's been there since I could remember. I don't know my biological father. So I got abandoned by one person when I came to that knowledge. And then now, my father, he's there and he's kind of like, I'm not your dad, but I'm going to give you everything that, you deserve. That aspect of my dad, I literally love that. And of course I would want that in my man. But then the other aspects is like, you got to know, like, if your dad was a cheater, like, if your dad was out here, because my dad treated me so good, but when it came to my mother, it wasn't. And then as a kid, you're hearing all of this shit happening, and you like, but he don't treat me like this. And you realize, like, men are two different people. Like, they could flip it on and off, because I'm getting told, don't let a man treat you like this. he's doing the same thing. So it's like, it really depends on that household and what you grew up with. My mother was handyman. My father's playing the game.
Wow.
You get what I'm saying? So I'm looking at my mom like, you know, she could fix this up. Right. So I'm going to have to start doing stuff like that. I start looking at her like, oh, she did it by herself. Oh, I could be a mechanic. I could get into a car. I could hot wire a car. Like, I could do all of this stuff that my mother
What?
did. So I look at her like,
oh my God.
Damn, should a man be like my mother? Like, it gets kind of tricky. Yeah. It gets kind of tricky. So,
and I think it's
okay. So again, where's the accountability from mom? Because her and her mom need to have a serious conversation. Because again, how much value is that man providing that he can sit down and play video games while she's doing that stuff? See, this is why she needs to have a conversation with her mom, because stepdad bringing something to the table. Because most women won't let you sit around their house and play games, especially when something's broken like that and they're having to fix it. That's not the norm. So what is it about that guy? What is he bringing to the table that he's able to do that and the mom is not caring? You see, remember, relationships are about balance, and a lot of times what we see is negative actually may not be the case because we don't know the whole story. You got to start talking to your parents more in this situation. Because again, if dad is so great, why is he not helping you vet the men in your life? It doesn't make sense. Something's missing or somebody's lying. One or the other.
It's important that we talk about model behavior too. Like, it's not all just, like you said, all talk, right? Mm-hmm. Like, you need to, as parents, and I don't have any kids, but as a future parent, like, say it louder. You
act the way that you want your kid to be.
Right on. Like, you can't just be.
You know that they're a sponge and they're gonna absorb whatever.
Practice
your
what you
preach.
What they see.
Practice what you preach.
Right.
Yeah, and kids are not stupid at all. So it's like, it's one thing for him to say, oh, you know, this is how you should have a man treat you. But then if he's dogging your mom out, what, like you said, it gets confusing. But daddy, you did.
And then it's like, I grew up with a strict household. My mother was strict. They didn't graduate high school. They had to go back and get their GEDs and stuff. My mother had a baby at a young age. So both of them, they didn't go back to school. So I'm growing up in a strict household. I got to stay in my lane. I'm not going to interfere with nothing going on upstairs. But I know that after this argument, either one or two things is going to happen. My mother's going to yell at me, right? And these are things that happen. Wow. Like, and not intentionally. Like, if something is out of place, I'm going to get yelled at by her, or he's going to come downstairs and slam the door or something and dip.
Wow.
So, you know, you dealing with stuff like that at the house, and you kind of like, yo, I don't know how a man should really be treating me. Like, I really don't know what to expect from men. So when you get older, you kind of like side-eyeing them. Like, I don't know what I want you to be like. Because I really didn't experience
lack of respect.
And kudos to the girls that get to experience it.
I'm sorry that's your experience, and I hope that makes you acknowledge that you shouldn't have to settle for a man that's going to be like that.
And a lot of people go through it. I hear this like every single day. Like, I didn't have the best, and I'm not saying like people don't fight. Parents fight all the time. But like, it's what you hear out of those conversations and like how it molds you. It like, I would never want it. And so our standards are going up and up. We going through all of this stuff. So now it's just harder to get us. And we're sitting here in our masculine energy when we really just want to be
soft.
Soft.
Y'all creating standards of a man that y'all don't even know what the man is supposed to look like.
A lot of women don't even know what they want.
Yeah.
And that's not fair to men. Because we just want a woman that's going to respect us at the end of the day. I think we were so willing to compromise. You ain't even got to be Beyonce. You don't got to cook every day. Yo,
that's
we keep... No, I'm so serious. I'm so serious. You got to... Yo, we are, but like I said, you don't have to be Beyonce. That's why I'm not saying you're not supposed to look good.
Like, you don't got to be a 10. Like, you can be a goddamn 7 or 6. You know what I'm saying?
I don't need you to cook every day. I don't need you to tell me how much money you making. I need you to communicate. I'm not going crazy about this perfect person. I feel like women have these standards that men are never going to reach at some point. You get what I'm saying? Just like, well, you got everything, but you a few decimals short in the pocket, or you're a few inches short in the height. It's like, well, damn, what the fuck?
Well, we compromise a lot, so don't even say that.
I don't know.
Compromise a lot.
Y'all compromise.
I done compromise in every situation.
When y'all compromise, y'all make.
seriously, I think she's just trying to justify her choices because what he was saying hit a little too close to home.
The wrong y'all compromising for the wrong people.
Exactly.
It's the wrong people that y'all making the compromises for because
that compromising for the Pookies and Ray Rays.
Because the man that's treating some women good, y'all
not compromising for that good man. That's because look, but he might be kind of corny, but I'm a compromise because he's doing the right shit.
You ever got played by a corny dude?
Girl, you mean?
I mean, girl. Sorry.
Played by a corny girl.
Have y'all ever got played by a corny dude?
Yeah.
It hurts so much more.
Yeah.
And I think that's.
I'd rather get what I actually want and get hurt and be like, all right, at least he was what I wanted.
That's so dumb. That's dumb.
It sounds crazy, but it is what it is.
We had a woman who say, I'll give 2 examples right on the show. We had this.
That is crazy.
Plus size woman, and she said that she couldn't date somebody that wasn't 6 feet, even though she was like 5'4", right? And she was plus size. But she was like she would feel more disrespected if she dated somebody that treated her treated her good but was short. You know what I mean? And over a guy that was taller, like you know what I'm saying? Like she preferred the taller guy, even though the shorter guy was treating her better. But she just felt like it would be disrespectful. Like you know what I mean? Like it was just like a weird. And then we had another woman not too long ago who said that Russell Wilson is corny. Like she won't want a Russell Wilson. She want the futures. Like you know what I'm saying? Like so again,
or they'd rather cry in a Rolls Royce than a Honda Civic.
So all
you gonna cry anyway. You might as well cry in something nice.
No, stop crying.
You shouldn't be crying at all.
Exactly.
Like
that's the real answer. That you shouldn't be crying at all. Stop dealing with low value men. I mean, at the end of the day, it's like hold on. You know what? Let's just keep going.
I think with me growing up, I was raised by my aunt for the half of my life, and then obviously that I met my biological mother. Then I grew up with my biological mother. So my aunt was very much miserable. She was very much masculine in her tone and her mannerisms, how she carried herself. You get what I'm saying? So this is a black woman I grew up with who I seen behave in this manner, and that was a complete turnoff for me. So I think some men are growing up with mothers that they are very much in their masculine, and they're like, you know what? I don't want a woman like that. You get what I'm saying?
Exact opposite.
I want the opposite of that. Like you get exactly.
Yeah,
so
like
we go for the opposite of what our mother was. Like you know what I'm saying? We don't want to deal with that. We had to deal with that our whole lives. That's not a pleasant person to be around. Like you know what I'm saying? So I want to go for something else, which may or may not be them dating outside their race or finding someone that leads in the femininity more, or just gives them a different vibe than what they was growing up with around certain women. I'm not saying that's wrong or right, but obviously we have to take into people's consideration. Just like with black women, y'all have certain black experiences with black men that might shape why y'all might want a white man or a Hispanic man or whatever, the Asian man, whatever the case is. So we do have to take people's experiences into consideration of why maybe they might be looking outside their race, unfortunately, to find,
He just changed the subject.
Love, like, you know what I mean? So
yeah, I think you just need to know when to, like, pull out that masculine, and you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think there's nothing wrong with a woman being masculine in certain spaces, right? If you go to a business meeting, right, and majority of the people in there are men, you might need to put on your little masculine, right? Make sure that they know that you mean business, but in the realm of, like you said, dating and things like that, like you also need to know how to tap into that femininity.
Yeah,
I think that
all have.
The problem with that is most women don't know how to flip that switch. They don't. And the other thing is that most women don't have careers. Most women have jobs. And most women on their job are not required to be masculine. They're not. So that sounds good, but I think that's just an excuse to make up for women who are not good at. Most of the time when you see a woman who's masculine, particularly in our community, it comes from a lack of trust of men. So it's more, I would say, more than being masculine, I would just say it's a bravado that comes out through to a lack of trust of men. Now, how they got that lack of trust could have been passed down through a generational curse. It could be because their father is a scumbag. I mean, there's a couple different reasons, but at the end of the day, I'm not sure if it matters because, again, this is it's not going to matter to the guy who is wanting to get married and he starts dating you. he's not going to care. All he care about is the outcome that he has to deal with right now. So my thing is that we need to start having, ladies, y'all need to start having conversations with your mom, and you need to start asking the tough questions. It's like, how come you and dad didn't get along? What name, no, better yet, Mom, can you name one thing that dad get wrong and then one thing that you did wrong, and why, as to why you guys, split apart? And what she says. Guarantee it's almost certain she's going to tell his part, the negative, first, and then her part is probably not going to be, it's going to be like a minor infraction, if that. But the reality is, it said no, they both were wrong in the situation. That's why it didn't work out. But you ladies have to have that conversation with your mothers in order to start the healing process. Because otherwise, this is like my mama can do no wrong. And then you're never going to get to the chances of you getting to the bottom of your issues, slim to none, because most of them are stemming or they've been passed down as generational curses. Let's keep going, though. Almost done here.
We
Such
all
a
have
hard
that
balance.
energy.
Yeah, because men too, I feel like you could tap into your feminine. Like if we're, having a heart to heart, or and I'm confiding in you, you might empathize with me and tap into your feminine side.
Yeah, no, that's
But
it's
empathy
about
is
how
not
you
feminine,
lead.
Joe. That's not a feminine trait. Like
No, it's not.
empathy is not a feminine trait.
Empathy,
Anybody can have empathy.
Yeah.
I think that when
I think that most women lack empathy for men. Again, because they have no knowledge of the male experience. How can you feel empathy for something that you know very little about? The women who I've said this all the time, the women who tend to have knowledge of the male experience, they tend to be married. And I'm not sure if I think there's a correlation there. I'm just not sure if it's direct or not, because, I can't figure out if they have knowledge of the male experience they had it before they got married. That's why they were able to, because the fact they understand men, it makes them easier to cooperate with, easier to get along with. Or it's because they've spent so much time with the man that, they have learned what it's like, or they have gained knowledge through that close relationship of the male experience. I don't know which it is, but all I know is women who have knowledge of the male experience, i.e. show empathy to men for their issues, they tend to be married. So
let's tap into their femininity, that's more like, that's what I feel is feminine. Like,
I didn't know
more
that.
On an emotional standpoint.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's why I said empathize. When I say
femininity, because it's like, I would want a guy to be so emotional on a level in which we could talk about anything with each
But why
other.
is emotional?
But that's not. Yeah, that should
I think
Emotion
empathy
is not a
can
feminine
be
trait.
a feminine trait. Like, I'm not saying like it's. I think women are much more empathetic. Like, you know what I mean? They're much more delicate in their appearance. They're soft. They're healers. Women are healers naturally.
I would say sympathetic, not empathetic.
These are certain characteristics that we associate to femininity. Like, you know what I mean? So I do understand that empathy might be more of a feminine trait than like jealousy would be more of a feminine, which they say is more of a feminine trait than a masculine trait. Like, you see a man acting jealous, you're gonna associate that to him being feminine. Like, you get what I'm saying?
Maybe because it's acting off of
so.
emotion.
You know how many men in the Bible
Once again,
killed
if it
each
has
other
to
because
do
of
with
jealousy?
emotion,
That jealousy started like with men. Like,
I mean, no, I'm not saying men can't exist.
So much stuff to cover in this synopsis here. I think the biggest takeaway is that, we need to do a better job of raising our kids. Because, again, as currently we're raising our children to be soldiers in the gender war. They are not trusting the opposite gender. Single parent households, do they contribute to that? Absolutely. They should say single mother households contribute to that. Single dad households, they contribute in another way. That has to do with, especially when the dad is raising a daughter, those daughters tend to be more masculine, which makes them usually more combative. But the point here is that we need to do a better job of raising our kids. Now, I like the fact that we actually got the conversations related to being a stepfather. What we saw here is that, yes, there are stepfathers out there. Is it a thankless job? At this point, yeah. But I think the reason it is because we've seen it here is that the daughters are not going back and asking for more information from mom. well, yeah, my stepdad did this and this, but he didn't really teach me what I really needed to know. Okay, did you talk to your mom and figure out what the relationship was like? Because if you're not going to get it from him, and very well, he may not be allowed to be in that role because you are your mother's daughter. So go back and talk to your mom and find out what's really going on. And again, another question that you could start asking your parents, or even asking your parents, I would say, because it works for men and women. Okay, can you name one thing that mom did wrong and one thing that dad did wrong that led to the end of the relationship? You know, we got to start holding our parents accountable. If we're not having the results in relationship with the relationships that we want, then we need to start holding our parents accountable by going and asking, what is it that you taught me subconsciously while I was growing up that is the reason why I'm not having successful relationships today? Now, I'm not saying that you need to blame them, because part of it is your fault. There is an age of, okay, well, I got to accept some responsibility too. But in order to get there, I think you have to have an origin point as to what you need to be looking for. You know, I think we need to start. There's a growing trend on YouTube, especially in these relationship videos, where people just say you need therapy. Well, therapy is not a catch-all, especially for men, because men don't get the same results as women do in therapy. So I think we need to start addressing some of these issues before we go to these sessions. You know, but I think this is definitely a high-level conversation. It's a great video. Guys, go subscribe to Daily Wrap-Up Crew. They have conversations like this all the time. We definitely peel back some layers here. Now, do I agree with the gentlemen on all their points? No, because I still think that women the women today have very little empathy for the male experience or men in general, just because they don't have any knowledge of what the male experience is like, or the things that men have to deal with. I think that so far, all attempts to bring women into this mindset, through YouTube or whatever, is proving to have combative results. I think you might get better results if the women are actually going and having tough conversations with their mom, especially if you're a lady and you're already grown. I think you need to go back and have some tough conversations with your mom about her relationship with your father, and find out what really happened there. As a kid, there are things that you're just not old enough to understand, and you have to stay in the child's place. But, as you're a grown adult now, those conversations should be approachable. If your mom is not open to them, then that actually says a lot in itself. So you're going to have to go from there. But guys, great conversation going on here. I'm going to say goes to the next time. Peace.